ideology. There was no bias, cheap shots, or calculated offense. Instead, there was just old-fashioned sense of decorum, a gentleness that ran counter to what sometime to be a coarsening American culture. And there was wisdom, too, sometimes light, but often profound. To borrow a currently popular term, you might say that Schulz's humor was faith-based. You know, in Proverbs, there's a passage that says, even in laughter, the heart aches. That view was utterly realistic about all our shortcomings and ultimately hopeful about what will come. But Charles Schulz entertained us through his comic, but he didn't preach. So even when Linus, ever the theologian, would cite scripture, readers of all faiths could get the point without being offended. Reading Peanuts today is like visiting with old friends, and for good reason. Several generations of Peanuts fans have had the experience, the feeling that we really know these children, Charlie and the rest. We knew them as the boys and girls we grew up with and went to school with, and later went to work with. Indeed, we still know them, even though they are seemingly all grown up. For as we age our way through the years, we better and better understand the idea that has always been there in the back of our minds, the smile that has always been there in some corner of our heart, which is simply this: Schulz's kids are us. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Charles Schulz used the Peanuts gang to keep us focused on the brighter side. I think probably there isn't a politician that ever walked through these corridors and under this rotunda that one time or another wasn't ready to kick that football deep into enemy territory and then have somebody just yank it away. I remember as a college student walking out in a little rural college in Illinois, walking out in the middle of winter into our student union, and every morning there'd be the Charlie Schulz clips up on the bulletin board. And almost every student on his way out after breakfast and going to class or going to do the things they had to do would stop and see what Charles Schulz had to say to brighten up the day. Didn't seem like anything ever went right for Charlie Brown. He loses his baseball games. As we said, the tree eats his kites. He can't win the heart of that little red-haired girl. But no matter how bad his life seems to get, and no matter how many good griefs he mumbles, he never gives up. He's determined to overcome life's hardships. He's a symbol of America's perseverance. Readers can't help but love the famous blockhead. He reminds us to stay optimistic. And whenever it gets hard to laugh at ourselves, and believe me, in this town, in this place, sometimes it does get difficult to laugh at ourselves. Good old Charlie Brown and the rest of the Peanuts gangs invites us to laugh at them. It's funny to think that Schulz originally cringed at the name Peanuts, a name that he thought made his comic strips sound insignificant. Today, as we present his wife Jeannie with her husband's gold medal, nothing could be further from the truth. And now I would like to invite Jeannie and the Schulz family to come forward to receive the award on behalf of Charles Schulz. A talented and gifted artist whose timeless comics made our nation and the entire world laugh for more than 50 years. May I present Jeannie Schulz.
Happiness is sharing. It's sharing great moments with wonderful family and friends. We're humbled by this great honor in this most historic place. I want to use Sparky's words to accept this honor. He says, in Snoopy's book of essential phrases, there is only one. That is, thank you. Thank you to the honorable members of the House and the Senate. Thank you to the speakers here today who remembered Sparky and told of their personal involvement with him. Thank you to the offices of Senator Feinstein and Congressman Thompson who arranged the logistics of this event. And thank you to all of you who came here to honor Sparky, a great cartoonist, a great American, and a great human being.
Senator Reid, Senator Lott, Speaker Hastert, honorable members of Congress, honored guests and friends, I too want to thank everyone on behalf of my family, those here and those who can't be here. A few years ago, I asked my father to what we owe our truest allegiance, our country or ourselves. While I can't quite recall the impetus for this question, I suppose it probably had something to do with Nuremberg and Wounded Knee. His response surprised me. He said, ourselves. Now, you should remember again that he went to Europe in 1945 with the 7th Army and was always quite proud of that fact. So it seems to me my father believed that we serve society best by being the finest citizens we can be, because a nation is more than borders and customs and laws. Its truest character is found in its people, who they are as individuals, what they believe as individuals, and what part of themselves they choose to give to their society. If the discovery of the best America is still before us, then that living hope is sure to be revealed in the good and the decent within each of us. And I believe my father found, through the popular art form of the comic strip, an opportunity to share with his fellow citizens an enduring message that life is made up of small but vital struggles for integrity and character and moral responsibility, that these are contests of the heart, and they're the only ones truly worth winning. He dedicated his life to these ideas, made manifest for 50 years in Charlie Brown and the other Peanuts characters. He shared these insights 7 days a week with his fellow citizens, which, as it turns out, lent comfort and hope to millions of them. His simple philosophy, drawn in humor, provided a salve for many wounds, helped lift uncounted spirits, and made all our lives that much more bearable. This is what he gave to his country. It's why we honor him here today, and why we can forever take pride in calling my father, Charles Monroe Schulz, an American son. Thank you.
I've been asked to share with you this beautiful gold medal. Mrs. Schulz asked me to do it. Of course, on this side is a smiling, happy Charles Sparky Schulz. On the other side, there they are. The characters, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Linus, and Lucy. Isn't it beautiful? That's wonderful.
I think that his ability to capture the human condition through his characters is just extraordinary. Everyone could relate to whether it was, a story that they could see themselves in or learn something about human nature from. He just had an uncanny ability to sort of show us who we were.
We were looking for a unique way to make MetLife more visible, and we did a whole lot of research in a whole lot of ways, and then we met with Charles Schulz, who we didn't think would license that would allow us to use the characters in this kind of commercial venture. And while we were meeting with him the first time, he said two amazing things that we found amazing. One, that he had been a MetLife policyholder since he was 22 or 23, and he in fact later found a picture of him and his MetLife rep, which we ran in the company newspaper sometime after. And the second, as we were talking about what we were going to try to achieve in our communications, he said, well, I have an idea. We'll make Snoopy the world-famous MetLife representative. And he'll run through the commercials and tell people all about your company and what you can do for them. And that's pretty much what we did for the next decade, using the Peanuts characters and Snoopy as a world-famous MetLife rep.
And I think everybody related to his issues of heartbreak and yearning and desire and hope and persistence.
He was an observer of people. He was an observer of human nature with a sense of humor. Never took it serious. It was the humor that I think was important to him, and he could bring that into it, whatever the occasion.
He not only brought Americans together to help understand ourselves and each other, but those from other countries as well. And
what my father drew in the strip was real. It portrayed innocence. It portrayed, as he always said, everybody experiences losing. Only a few people ever really experience the great winning and the gold medals. And I think everything that we all experience is in my father's strip through each and every one of the characters, and it's timeless. And I really believe that even the strips that are being rerun the newspaper right now, it is, as one of the gentlemen said in their speech, it's like visiting old friends.
I remember we were in a clothing store once, and he had just purchased a coat, and the woman heard us talking. She said, "Are you the Charles Schulz?" He said, "Yes," and she got so excited. "I have all your TVs, your books. Would you draw a picture for me?" Well, he was so enamored of her, he drew 4 or 5 pictures of the characters. And then she went back to finishing the sales slip, and because she was so programmed, she said, "Now, Mr. Schulz, do you have some form of identification?" And then she realized what she'd said. And that was one of the funniest moments we ever had together.
He didn't think that he was good enough to get this, because he didn't think it could be given to a cartoonist, because he was basically always told that cartooning is a lower form of art, and I think he set out to show that that wasn't true. That cartoonists can be considered artists, and that's why I'm proud of him, because he wanted to make a contribution to his profession. That's what he said 50 years ago, and I think today we can say that he finally did that.
Oh yeah, no, it's the reason I'm a cartoonist. I mean, I grew up reading Peanuts, watching the Charlie Brown Christmas special. It's all I ever wanted to do was to become a cartoonist and try to do what he did so well.
He really touches people all around the world and changes people's lives. So when you compare him, he's not George Washington, but he's a very great American as well as a great cartoonist.
Oh, yes. Okay. Good to see you.